everybody, welcome to iHome Church and Happy New Year. I want to first of all thank you for sending in so many emails encouraging us for a brand new year of our work here at iHome Church, but also those personal emails where you shared your New Year's resolution with all of us. But one email that I received that I would like to share with all of you is one that I would like to read. This person wrote in by saying, Happy New Year. I've hated you for some time because it was a lots of fun. But hating you made me miserable because I was turning into someone that I didn't like. One day, my sister sent me, quote, I am gossip, and it blew me away because that was who I was. My New Year's resolution is to be the real me, not someone that entertains my friends at the expense of someone else's pain. I'm sorry, and I wish you and Ben the best. This is a very, very interesting letter because when I read this thing called I Am Gossip, it just brought back a lot of memories. But the work that this person received from the sister goes something like this. It's titled I Am Gossip. My name is Gossip. I have no respect for justice. I maim without killing. I break hearts and ruin lives. I am cunning, malicious, and gather strength with age. The more I am quoted, the more I am believed. I flourish at every level of society. My victims are helpless. They cannot protect themselves against me because I have no name and no face. To track me down is impossible. The harder you try, the more elusive I become. I am nobody's friend. Once I tarnished a reputation, it is never the same. I topple governments, wreck marriages, ruin careers, and cause sleepless nights, heartaches, and indigestion. I spawn suspicion and generate grief. I make innocent people cry in their pillows. Even my name hisses. I am called gossip, office gossip, shop gossip, party gossip, telephone gossip. I make headlines and heartaches. Remember, when you repeat a story, ask yourself, is it true? Is it fair? Is it necessary? If not, do not repeat it. Keep quiet! Exclamation mark. And this email was quite an important one for me because it reminded me of a passage in Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 15. And it says, all the days of the desponding and afflicted are made evil, but a glad heart has a continual feast. Basically, it's saying that all the days that we go through in our lives are made evil. That means we are the ones making it evil by concentrating and focusing on all the things that keep us feeling despondent and make us feel afflicted. But a glad heart, or a happy heart, or a heart that is appreciative, a heart that is thankful, has a continual feast. And this is something that, that has helped me over the years to remind myself that many times all the things that we suffer through in life can be basically, understood in terms of what we decide our lives to be. And most of us don't realize that we hold that decision within our hands. And when this writer wrote in saying, I am tired of being miserable because all of the things that this person did by laughing at me or having fun at my expense made him realize that, that is really not the kind of a person that he wanted to be. He didn't want to live an empty, kind of a meaningless life where you are, celebrating others' pain. And you realize that what he is saying is, I think, can be understood by so many people. And what he wants to do with the start of the new year is to really reclaim or re-own the real me. And the real me is the genuine self that is being made miserable by his decision to do certain things. But when he decides that, I am not going to be that person anymore, I'm going to own my life and be the real, genuine me, he is, in actuality, deciding to have a glad heart or a happy heart and enjoy the continual feast that God provides for you and me. And I realized that this was a really courageous email on the part of this person, because it's his attempt to be honest. It's his attempt to be genuine. And even though he just so, in a carefree way, talks about how he would, ridicule me or laugh at me, at the end of the day, being that child of God, he was not happy at what he was doing. And he wasn't just going to go with the flow of what that particular group that he associated with was going to continually do, but he wanted to make that change. And the important thing about his desire to be the real him is that he decided, I'm going to change from inside out. I think a lot of us, when we talk about New Year's resolutions, we're thinking, okay, I want to change my house, I want to change my room, I want to change all the circumstances or my environment, and that will make me happier and a better person. But we know that as believers of God and Christ and true parents, that true happiness or genuine or fulfilling happiness only comes about when we change from inside out. And the most important component about doing that is renewing our spirit, or getting in touch with our divinity, getting in touch with who we are, in that we are God's eternal sons and daughters, and our life is really a gift and a blessing to share with people. And I find it so interesting that one of the most well-known personalities or people in the world shared what he perceived to be 3 kinds of people in the world. I'm sure all of you know Walt Disney. For any of us who have children, we are constantly being reminded of Mr. Disney and the kind of, the input that he had in all of our lives by creating these magical theme parks and all those animated feature films that have graced our TV screens and our computer screens to the delight of our toddlers and adults alike. He has, through his own creativity, changed a lot of people. But throughout his life, he came to know many, many different people, types of people that he's worked with, and he has categorized them into 3 kinds of people. Number 1 is what he calls well poisoners. What he means by that are people who discourage you or stomp on your creativity and tell you what you cannot do. I am sure when Walt Disney first started off in his career in wanting to create this animation fantasy world, he probably dealt with a lot of people who told him, well, what you're thinking is ridiculous, you cannot do that, or made him feel like a worthless piece of baloney at the end of the day. But the second kind of people that he talks about is what he calls lawnmowers. And he defines that as people well-intentioned but self-absorbed. They tend to their own needs. They're very good at mowing their own lawns, but they never leave their lawns to help others. They're kind of like an island unto themselves, and they take very, very good care of their property, but that's the only thing that they end up doing. Then he talks about a third kind of person, what he calls life enhancers. And these are people who reach out, go out of their comfort zone to actually make that first step, reaching out. And they reach out not to make others miserable, but they reach out to enrich the lives of others and to lift them up and inspire them. And so when I think about these three kinds of people that Walt Disney talked about, I want to be a life enhancer. I don't want to be a well poisoner, somebody who's always boo-hooing others' creative efforts or others' desire to try something new by always being negative and saying, you cannot do it, don't be silly. And I don't want to be a lawnmower, just taking good care of my lawn, just take care of my family. That's all I need to do. And then, I will be happy for the rest of my life. That is not going to please me because, I see my family as an extension of a worldwide family. So if I want to take care of my lawn, I want to take care of the world's lawn too. And, when Walt Disney talks about life enhancers, somebody who kind of reaches out and enriches people's lives by inspiring them, by lifting them, that's the kind of a person I want to be. And so when this gentleman in his email says, I want to claim the real me, the way I see it, his New Year's resolution is a decision to start inside out versus outside in. He's not saying I'm going to change, all my circumstances or the different things, my car, my room, my house, my school, that's going to make me feel better. But he's saying I want to start by reclaiming who I am, starting with who I am. And I think that's a really, really important point, because one of the first things that I've noticed in a lot of New Year's resolution coming my way is that many people want to change their environment, change their circumstances, and they want to change all the things that are wrong about their life. But when we attempt to embark on this new venture of renewing our spirit, instead of thinking of all the wrong things or all the things that are wrong about me and my life that I want to change, you can only effectively start in the process of renewing or inspiring and empowering your spirit if you start with a simple appreciation. And so in our life of faith as a unificationist, we end the year, we close out the year with a midnight prayer, and we welcome the new year with what we call a celebration of God's Day, when we really celebrate, and it kind of affords us an opportunity to thank God for the life that we have been given. It allows us to really appreciate to God, our Heavenly Parent, how much or how grateful we are for this opportunity to walk down this journey that we call our life. And in the same vein, when we want to really renew our spirit, I feel that the first important step that we need to do is to really not make a list at the beginning of the new year of all the things that are wrong with us that we would like to change. But it starts out with an appreciation or an affirmation of all the good qualities that we have, that we can be proud of. Maybe we're not the best rocket scientist, but maybe we are a person seeking to be kind and compassionate to others. Maybe perhaps we're not a size 2 that we like to be, but maybe we are. I like the fact that maybe I enjoy my meals with gratitude in thanking God for all of this incredible diversity of different foods that are put before me. And so when we start affirming the good qualities that make us who we are, then we can start feeling really good about ourselves. And perhaps maybe leave the history of our own histories where we were constantly hitting ourselves over the head for all the things that are wrong with us, all the things that are negative about us. But start the year, renew the spirit by affirming all the good qualities that we have. And everybody, if we look hard enough, has something good that we can celebrate. I promise you. And then the second step is to really determine or make that decision. Let no one or circumstances, different circumstances that we will go through in our life, dictate our attitude. Meaning that we are not going to allow our attitude to become victims of a particular circumstance or a particular person. Even if a particular person in our life is grumpy and really nasty and really angry and really atrocious, we can still decide to maintain our attitude of gratitude, whether the person is angry or not, whether the circumstances that we are in, perhaps we are going through an extremely or an extraordinary difficult time or a painful process. But we can still decide, regardless of how painful the process might be, to keep our attitude in that grateful mode, in a thankful mode. And instead of just concentrating on what is painful, think about what the outcome of that pain can be, as long as we maintain a grateful heart. And I think the third step in really kind of helping us to renew the spirit to face the new year with all the wonderful surprises, I'm sure, that will come our way, is to believe the best in yourself. And I know that for those of us who has dealt with difficult childhood, problems with anxiety, insecurity, and fear, this is probably one of the most difficult things to do. But believing in the best of who you are as that eternal son and a daughter of God, and not just believing that you can be the best, but actively reach out to enrich the lives of others. And this is what my father talks about when he says, living your life, living for the sake of others. We are actively reaching out to enrich the lives of others through encouragement, through care, and through kindness. And even if life bites you at the neck while you're busy trying to believe the best in yourself, and you are met with failures and mistakes and difficult moments, well, one of the things that I like to remind myself is that failure, basically, for me, means you are another step closer to success. In that whatever you go through in your life, it's like walking up a stairway. Maybe one particular stairway might be a really happy one. Maybe another one might be really bumpy. Maybe another one might be really nasty. But no matter what happens, just keep on going. And you realize that you are one step closer to the top of the landing, or to the successful life or the prosperous life that you want to have in life. And all throughout the process, when we want to renew our spirit, the key is really encouraging others, wanting the best for others, and realizing that, hey, I am not the only child of God here. but we belong to one family under God. And there's this one story that was shared by a very, very successful businesswoman. And she tells a story where, you know, back in the day, long time ago, when she was taking her freshman economics class that all the freshmen had to take to complete their core curriculum in the particular area that she was studying in. She said she walked into this economics class and the teacher said, okay, class, settle down. Let's get started. And the teacher said, take out a piece of paper. I'm going to give you a little quiz, and you need to hand the paper in at the end of the class. And so she was thinking, what kind of a quiz is this? What's going on? And then the teacher said, what is the name of the woman who cleans these classrooms? And the student was totally puzzled, like, well, am I not in economics class? Why is this professor asking me this question? It has nothing to do with economics class. And she was just kind of puzzled. But when there were groans and moans in the classroom and people are saying, you know, what does the cleaning lady have to do with anything? And, you know, somebody raised their hand, you know, and basically, is this going to count towards our grade? And the teacher said, absolutely. Because one thing you need to understand, class, is that in your career, you will meet all sorts of people. But everybody you meet is significant. And it is important to show care and attention to every person you meet, even if it's just a simple smile or a hello. And this person, upon hearing that, realized that here she was going to economics class to learn something, to make a ton, you know, basically headed towards Wall Street, make tons of money. And the only thing that this person was thinking was the dollar sign. But the teacher was saying that in your journey through life, you have to treat everybody as somebody significant, as somebody meaningful, by showing care and attention, because that is the key to becoming successful. And most people don't realize that, but being a good, decent person helps you in the process to become a successful person. And of course, the student later on realized that, later on made the effort to find out the name of the cleaning lady. And regardless of how successful this person became later in life, she never forgot that simple lesson. And so the way we treat each other, the way we love each other, the way we encourage each other, the way we discourage each other, all make up who we are at the end of the day. That either makes us feel incredibly fulfilled and satisfied, or incredibly depraved, despondent, and miserable, like this gentleman who sent me this email. So when you realize that we are all here to really live for the sake of others, as my father teaches, or in the words of Walt Disney, to reach out and be that life enhancer, to be that person who enriches people with care and kindness and lifts them up and inspires and empowers them. This was what you and I and what we were meant to be. This is the kind of a person that God, our Heavenly Parent, wants us to be. So when I shared my father's prayer for those of us who got together to ring in the new year 2015, Father talked about the importance of home church and how home church is the kingdom of heaven on earth. And so the way I see it, you know, what our Father wants us to do is to really treat this new year as an opportunity to renew the spirit, to be that life enhancer, to be that person that understands all children of God as incredible, unique masterpieces. And it's our job to encourage, to inspire, to empower each other. And if we can do that, can you imagine how incredible our world could be? If we could have more life enhancers in our lives, starting with you and me, deciding to be tribal messiahs, basically saying the world and my environment is not going to dictate what kind of a person I am going to be. I am going to decide what kind of a person I want to be. And when we kind of start looking at our world in this kind of a way, we will see incredible magic unfold. And even if some of us are only thinking about the dollar sign, this successful businesswoman and the lessons that she learned in business school is saying, hey, even if your goals are selfish, it pays to be a decent person, a good person. Because in the end of the day, not only will you be successful, there are many people who are successful and absolutely miserable. But you will be successful, but you will also be fulfilled because you've lived a life as that life enhancer, as that person, the catalyst that enriches people's lives with care and kindness and encouragement. And so that's my resolution for this year. And when I reread and contemplate on my father's midnight prayer that he gave in 1981, it's really kind of a chance for me to redetermine myself to want to be that life enhancer couple together with my husband, and to be that tribal messiah, and to not waste this glorious, this really magnificent life on things that are not worth our while. But what is worth our while? It's true love. And it's true love that we are here and that we will continue to exist through our children for centuries on. And so I would like to be that light on to the world, starting with me. And isn't that what you would like to be? And if we can do that, we can light up this whole world with the glorious light of our Heavenly Parent and the magic of true love. And everybody wishing upon each other the best that we can wish upon. And wouldn't that be truly a kingdom of heaven? Well, I think so. So have a blessed year. Please be healthy, happy, and share the love with the people you care about and even people that you don't know, because everyone is significant and everybody is a child of God. So God bless and thank you. If you have any questions and comments, please leave them below the video or go to enginemoon.com and use the contact form. And don't forget to subscribe to our email list. And for those of you who would like to contribute to our work here at our home church, just click on the donate button. Thank you. Bye-bye.